New year, which means there's going to be some new names up at the top of some of the leaderboards. Everyone knows the Taysons, the Boogas, some of the biggest players throughout the entire history of the game. But who are some of the players that I think are going to really pop off this year who have already been on the come up in the previous year? The first one is Hellfire. I already know that Destiny's Jesus has covered him, and the reason that a lot of people are starting to talk about him so much is because they're playing so well in scrims. It's him alongside Nebs, another very, very underrated player who unfortunately has not made the list today, but they are so good at fighting and they seem to have a really, really good understanding of the fundamentals of the game. The first time I really noticed him in particular was Season 6 Qualifier 2, where they were kind of playing off spawn contested in Lazy Lake with his team at the time. I think it was Flois and Kaiser, and it was a 6-game format. They only managed to win 3 of the games off spawn, but every single one, they got double-digit eliminations, and they ended up placing 3rd overall in that qualifier, which definitely made me look at the team and think, wow, there's some huge, huge fighting potential here. And that season, they definitely looked like a strong low-ground team. In Season 8, they swapped out Kaiser for Scram and ended up placing super well in both the FNCS and also Grand Royale. They were 2nd in the Season 8 FNCS and then 9th in Grand Royale overall. So this team, and in particular obviously Hellfire, has shown that he can perform in high level, the most stacked of stacked tournaments, and almost win like he did in Season 8. Now, I did say the first time I heard of him was Season 6, but I have heard of him previous to this, and in particular in Chapter 1, Season X in Loot Lake, because he kept dunking on me and in my team in one of the particular qualifiers round after round. Clearly, we figured out who's the better player by now. Next players, we're moving over to the NA East region. We're going to look at Cold. A lot of you started to hear his name recently, given the fact that he started to play with Scented in duos. Scented was looking to be playing with Miro, but instead now he's going to Cold. On Twitter, there's a lot of what I originally thought was memes, because I didn't actually know too much about him to start with, about this team being the best fighting team in the region. So we'll see exactly how that ends up playing out during the course of the year. So far, the first Cash Cup of the season, 152nd, so didn't manage to qualify through to the second round of the Cash Cup, but they have done really well in some of the third-party tournaments, in particular placing 2nd in the Elite Fortnite tournament as well. Cold's a player who last season definitely started to pop up. Previous to that, he was like a very reboot level player, always kind of making the heats and then going to reboots and never managed to make it through to the finals. But last season, he placed 6th in the FNCS finals and then 5th in Grand Royale, playing with Elite and Cease both times. And if you watch the gameplay from that, he was a huge part of their success, being honestly just an incredible fragger. Him, along with Scented, is already trying to claim Sleepy Sounds, calling it Cold Sounds. I mean, surely you can come up with some better names than that, but I definitely think he and also this duo, if they end up sticking together, is going to be very successful throughout this season and the entire year. Sticking on the NA East region, we're going to look at more of a solo play style, and so far that is Cam. So far he's basically only known as a good solo Cash Cup player because he's been performing in so many different variations over the last few seasons. Last season, he placed top 4 in 4 different solo Cash Cups and a 16th as well. So overall, some really good placements, and he's placed 2nd in a Cash Cup in the season before that. So a lot of really good solo placements. On top of that, he placed 3rd in the Streamer Bowl 3 Community Cup, so the qualifiers basically, and he's actually qualified for the Streamer Bowl LAN event. So it's going to be a LAN event at some point next year. So we'll see what he can do in a solo LAN environment as well. And I'm really interested to see if he starts performing in team modes. Duos is a little bit closer to solos, and we can obviously see that he is a great solo player. So this year I'm definitely keeping an eye out for him, not only in the solo Cash Cups but just in duos in general. Hopping back over to EU, and we're going to be looking at Vortex. Now, Vortex's claim to fame, I'll put that in quotation marks, is when they played with High Chris and Knight back in Chapter 2 Season 6, and they actually contested Hen, Janice, and Chapix at Craggy Cliffs in their home turf. It was both teams' normal drop spot. They ended up placing 32nd, where Hen, Janice, and Chapix were 8th or 7th off the top of my head from memory. Basically got wiped out off spawn, but there was a huge amount of kind of arguing, fighting across them on social media at the time, and it was a really big story given that Hen, Janice, and Chapix were the reigning FNCS champions at the time. Now, interestingly enough, Vortex is actually playing with Janice. So despite the fact they were contesting each other, they've settled their differences aside and are playing together. And Chapix, who was on that other team with them at the same time, who was also being contested, says that he's actually the best fighter in EU. And a lot of people seem to agree with that statement. He is heavily underrated. In the first solo Cash Cup of the season, the first qualifier, game number 1, he dropped a 30 bomb in solos, which I don't think any other player was even close to dropping anything like that. So he's definitely got a huge amount of fighting capabilities. If you watch his playstyle, it's very slow, it's methodical, but he still manages to use those high-level mechanics without just kind of being too mechanical and running in people's faces. Playing with Janice, he's also already placed second in the first duo cash cup in the second round that was, so already making some money this season. Looks like they're going to be a really, really good team. And I very vividly remember, I think the first time I saw the potential in him, which was the All-Star Solo Showdown, which was like the qualifier for the solos of the tournament, where there was top 10 managed to make it through to the All-Star Solo Showdown. And I vividly remember like a nice 3-piece he did with what was the Desert Eagle at the time. It was like 3 eliminations within, I think, 10-15 second time. It was unbelievable. Crazily mechanically gifted player, such a good fighter, and I hope now pairing up with a big brain like Janice, some of that will wear off and he'll learn a little bit more tricks of the trades and how to actually play team modes, play smarter, and use that mechanical and fighting capabilities that he has. And like I said, second in the first cash cup, it's looking strong already. Last but certainly not least in my to watch for 2022 is Tragix. In the All-Star Solo Showdown, he placed 5th. In the Season 8 FNCS, 2nd. And in the Grand Royale, 2nd. He was clearly overshadowed by the fact he was playing with Day and Jamper, and he didn't get a lot of the limelight that I felt like he really deserved. And I've actually already done a video on his charged shotgun use in particular and how he's so good at that. But overall, he's clearly a highly, highly competent player. This man has 177k earnings on NA East and 12k on YouTube. It's like $13 per subscriber. And sure, some of his other socials are much bigger, but still, not many people really appreciate how good Tragix truly is. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned a lot. Let's look out for these players across the year, and let's check in at the end of the year to see how they actually did. Peace.